Chief of Staff at Young Americans for Liberty. I welcome back Sean Themea. Sean, funny how you never hear about, I don't know, using a majority vote during a presidential election instead of the Electoral College, busting the Senate filibuster, 60-vote filibuster, and now the latest whining and complaining, we need term limits for justices, no lifetime appointments. Funny how you never hear about this until they start losing. Just want to get your thoughts.
100%. I mean, look, if this was a couple of years ago, we would have seen the liberals calling for afterlife appointments for the justices because they like the makeup of the court so much with their judicial activism, their disregard for the Constitution. But now, oh no, a couple of actually constitutionally correct rulings, and all of a sudden they want term limits. I mean, look, the problem is not putting term limits, or the solution rather is not term limits on the Supreme Court. I mean, if anything, there should be term limits elsewhere, not on the judicial branch.
Hello. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I got you. They're not talking about term limits for them, for the lawmakers. No, they want term limits for the justices. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the problem is the justices and the judges who don't actually follow the Constitution. You know, that's what we need to do something about, if anything.
If they got their wish, this would require that we go back to the states, get a majority of the states, a certain number of them. This would be tinkering with the Constitution, right? We need another amendment.
Well, they could pass it through the House and the Senate, get it signed by the president. Who knows if that would be the correct way to do it? That's how they'd like to do it. I'm glad that this statute is dead on arrival if it makes it out of the House, if that's possible. I mean, there's no way this is passing into law. Ultimately, this is just the Democrats trying to seize on anything they can do to mobilize their voters with these scare tactics, with these bills that won't go anywhere. Because, as you know, there's nothing for them to run on. I mean, they have destroyed the economy. Gas is $100 a tank in some states. Of course, Biden is completely incompetent. So they're going to keep putting forth these scare bills to try and just have any hope of salvaging their reelection.
And bit by bit, just chip away at some of these procedures in place and the backstops put in place. Like, for example, today's news, where you got Joe Manchin, who finally agreed to, I don't know what Joe is getting for himself or the state, but finally he bent a knee and is going to agree to this so-called Build Back Better legislation. I don't know what he's getting, but they're going to do some procedural, contortion in order to go around the Republicans to get this thing passed. And that 60-vote limit will not be necessary, but that's what they want to do. And this is probably their last gasp as far as passing anything significant, liberal significant legislation or so-called progressive before the election. This would be probably the final one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I hope it's the final one because you're right. I mean, every time a Democrat moves, opens their mouth, or takes up a pen in D.C., our rights continue to erode. So I'm very excited to see the House being taken back. Maybe even the Senate we will see. But yeah, I mean, this term limits has no place in the Supreme Court. I mean, I'd like to see justices held accountable and they don't follow the Constitution. And if term limits are needed anywhere, I mean, it's on these Democrats who don't have any respect for our rule of law.
Yeah, they never talk about term limits on them. Yeah, their own offices. All right. Thank you, Sean. Good to talk to you again. From Young Americans for Liberty, Sean Themea.